You're listening to She Shield, your one-stop pod for all topics personal safety. What did I just say? Safety. I'm your host, Sophia. My goal is to help educate women and men on concealed carry, martial arts, and all topics self-defense. Today we have Michelle, also known as TacGirlMichelle on social media, on the show today. So I'll just let you introduce yourself, Michelle.
Yes. My name is Michelle Waldron, and I am a medical spa and salon owner in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and TacGirlMichelle on the weekends.
I love that. That is such a cool intro. Well, so who is TacGirlMichelle?
Well, I guess we could kind of go back to the number one question that everybody has been asking since the beginning of me joining the Walther Arms shooting team. They're like, "Hey, you a grandmaster?" I'm like, "No." So I can't, I'm just a pretend competition shooter, and I kind of accidentally got into the shooting team. Like, I have no idea how I got here. But actually, I've been with them for 8 years, and they're great people. They just want you to go and have a good time and use their guns. So the first experience that I had with a handgun was when I was 14. My cool uncle, or as my mom would call him, crazy uncle that, loved to collect guns. So my first experience actually shooting was a Colt 45. It was very shiny and very big. And of course, I'm very short, small, and I don't think I've grown since 14. But he kind of went through the fundamentals of, how to hold a gun, how to use the front sight, rear sight. And he just kind of talked about, just passionate. And he kind of looked at me after he, told me about the caliber and the history of Colt. And he was like, "Are you still interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm fascinated by this. So he was like, "Do you want to go shoot it?" Like, of course. So he gave me one round and he told me, "If you can shoot this gun and you don't drop it, I'll give you more rounds." So to long story short, that summer vacation that I went to go visit my aunt and uncle, we went through a couple of boxes of 45 rounds and my shoulders really hurt. So that was about it. And then fast track to 6 years later, when I turned 21. At the time, my boyfriend, I met him and he was a heavy weapons specialist. He just got discharged, medically disabled. He jumped out of a plane and, crashed. And so he was an ex-special forces. So he just sold his gun store and we just started traveling to gun shows. And I love to travel. And basically I just kind of tagged along until he was getting rid of his inventory. And we did this for like 5 years. It kind of turned into a career. We met so many great people in the firearm industry. And once we stopped traveling for a couple of years, we started working, both of us, at the gun store locally here in Tulsa. So I did just the paperwork. So I really didn't, get into guns until we started traveling. And about 5 years of after we both got our concealed carry license, I had an incident. We were traveling for a gun show, and at the time, I carried it in my purse. And this is kind of why I started teaching and kind of passionate about, teaching ladies, because I don't want them to, think that, oh my gosh, I need to protect myself after something bad happens. And that's what happened to me. And it only takes a few seconds. After the gun show, we were fueling up and he went into, my boyfriend at the time, he was going inside to pay. And I saw this guy in a hoodie and I thought it was just a little weird because it was summer. And I kind of watched him and I thought he was going into the store, but he kind of turned, saw me, and then like 50 feet, he was just right there. And of course, I had my purse and my gun was in my purse, but it was in the back floorboard. And I remember my boyfriend at the time, he always carried one, in the middle console. I grabbed it and I pointed at him, and thank goodness he didn't have a plan and he didn't realize I was going to, whip out a gun. But my boyfriend came back in and he was like, "What just happened?" And he's like, "Look at your gun." And I was like, it was still in the holster. So I had, thank goodness he didn't have a plan and he took off. But I don't know, and that was when I decided, oh my gosh, I need to figure this out. But it took another 5 years for me to, get training because, life happens and, it almost happened. But obviously it wasn't bad enough for me to go, oh my gosh, I need more training. So another 5 years later, 2013 is when I finally decided, okay, I need to figure this out because there were so many women coming into the gun store just stopping me, like, what do you carry? And I had no idea. I'm like, I carry the shiny thing. So I was there, and I thought, if something else happens, how am I going to protect myself? Because he's not going to be with me 24/7, so that's kind of how I started my journey in 2013. And 2014, I for about a year, I took a advanced pistol class, and then I just got addicted because the more I took the class, the more confidence, and then I wanted to learn how to shoot a rifle. So I took a rifle class, and Marshall Luton, he just retired. He's a Tulsa PD, and he's been a mentor, and he kind of guided me through my journey. And so I took pistol class, I took rifle, shotgun, and then the home range that I shoot in Tulsa, they had 3-gun nation, 3-gun competition. And one class that I was taking, I think it was a shotgun. I thought, what is going on in all those bays? And so I went over there and I'm like, this is what I need, because I took about 6 classes and I wanted more. I wanted a challenge. So I kind of accidentally got into competition shooting, and then here I am. So.
Wow. That's incredible. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing your story and recounting that what sounds like a very traumatic event. And there's a lot to be said about that story. A lot of women do wait until something has happened, and it's not to shame them. I'm not saying that to shame them, and I know neither are you. It's just kind of how it goes. We don't think things like that are going to happen to us, and I'm very lucky I got into it preventively, but not everyone has that opportunity. So I'm really glad you're here to share your story and encourage others to do that preventively as well. And the idea that you had the gun in the holster, I mean, I can't imagine, like, especially if you don't practice draws from holsters from inside your, what is that thing called?
The middle console thing, the console.
Yes.
Yeah. Then I remember that because he's always told me, he's like, don't forget, I have one in here too, and I'm like, okay, my purse, this, and then it's just, thank goodness the guy. I'm sure he just wanted money. I don't know, but thank goodness that I pulled it out and you knew exactly what it was. But when I recall, it's like, it happened so fast, but I remember something shining, when he was kind of reaching, kind of fidgeting, and I know it was a kitchen knife. I don't recall, in details, but it was very shining. So, I mean, thank goodness he didn't have a plan and he just took off. And I was just like sitting there going, and he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I think I was getting robbed, or I don't know. And he's like, you still have the holster on there. I'm like, oh.
So absolutely. It makes sense that you had like a little like memory lapse because you had to make a impulse decision, and it sounds like you made the right one. I have this is my opinion, and I think this is widely shared, but just in case it's not, I'm putting it out there as my opinion. A single woman in a car should not be approached by another man.
Yeah.
I just really don't think that's the case. I had an incident in my hometown, and I feel like I've told the story before, so sorry if someone's listening and you've heard this, but I was approached by a homeless man one time, and he gave me his story. He said he had like 5 kids in a hotel room and his wife was there. So I gave him a 20 because it's all I had on me. And I remember seeing him so much after that around town. And I was with my dad at the time when I gave him the 20. And then another time I was walking outside of a bakery with my mom's birthday cake. I was alone. I had to walk kind of out of my way, kind of away from the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up and asked me for money. I said, "Hey, nah, man, can't help you." And he gave me another story. He was like, "I have 2 children and no wife." And I could tell that was kind of his way of getting money. And, I can't imagine, right. And I can't imagine his situation, like, what it's like to be homeless. I can't even begin. But I said, "No, I can't help you. I'm sorry." And he pestered me until I got to my car door when we were very much isolated. And I finally stopped and turned to him and I was like, "What are you doing? I'm a single woman alone. Like, why are you following me in my car?" I just like pointed out what he was doing. I was like, do you realize what you're doing? And he kind of started backing up. He was like, "I don't mean any trouble." And I was like, I can't remember what I said. I just know I got in my car, shut the door and locked it. But I remember thinking like, no, like that's wrong. Like I'm a single woman alone. And like ever since that happened, I have just felt very passionate about that idea. So I think you did the right thing and you're alive today and
I mean,
healthy today. So
I was getting gas I left work and I was getting gas and it was about 7:30, about a month ago. So it was still dark at night. And I always try to pull into the gas station where I'm not behind somebody because I feel like you can get trapped, like somebody else could pull up and then you're not able to. So I always even drive-throughs, I make sure that you can, just get out from the driveway instead through the drive-through instead of being pinned by like a wall or a fence or something like that. So if there is, I always, and that's the thing that I always try to tell ladies when I'm teaching a class, it's like, you don't have to have a gun. If you're afraid of guns, you don't have to, but just use your judgment and your gut feeling. Just like that guy when, he was approaching and I saw him, I thought, why is he wearing a hoodie? And it's, June,
Mm-hmm.
So I think as women, our gut is 100% right, so that night I was getting gas and I saw a corner of my eyes, there was another car and a guy just kind of walking back and forth from the front to the front of his car and then to the back. And it looked like he was getting something out of his trunk, but I was kind of like, okay, I had kind of had my hand appendix carry at the time. And I was just kind of like sitting there like, okay. And I got to a point where I thought, if he walks around one more time, I'm just going to get half a tank and then leave is what my plan was. And as soon as I thought, okay, he's coming around and I took the gas pump out and I was getting ready to put it, he came around. He's like, "Ma'am, do you have $2? I don't have any money and I need gas and I need to get to wherever he said." And I just said, that was the truth there. I didn't have cash on me. I said, "Look, I don't have cash. I'm sorry, I can't help you." And then I put my, the gas pump back and he was like, "Okay, thank you so much." And then I saw him coming around to the front of my car and then went back and I thought, okay, I got to get out of here. And as soon as I got to, my front door and he came around, he's like, "Anything, 50 cents, will you look inside?" And this is what I tell everybody. "Listen, I already said no. You need to back off." And then he was like, "Please, please, anything." And I literally screamed a lot of curse words. And I was like, and then he was like, "Whoa, okay, sorry, lady," and then took off. But, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm sure he wanted, and I felt bad, but when your gut says something, don't feel bad. I mean, yes, you sound like a crazy lady, but that could be, chance that you get to go home, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It sounds like managing unknown contacts to
Exactly.
me. So a stellar job.
And I'm like, oh
I
my
mean,
gosh, I like yelled. I'm like, hey. And then I was driving home, like, I felt so bad. He probably just needed it. I'm like, nope.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's one of those things.
Yeah.
It's like the other extreme of that is like, can you imagine if something bad did happen and you're like, shit, why
Exactly.
was I so nice? Like,
Yeah.
yes.
That's
So
why my,
you absolutely did the right
police
thing.
officer friends, like, don't be so nice. It's okay.
Right.
Like,
yes.
and that's what I tell him. Like, you might sound like a crazy bitch, but that's okay. You go home that night,
You go home that night.
Exactly.
And so I listened to a bunch of murder podcasts. I think I've mentioned that on here. I should say true crime podcasts.
Yeah.
Sorry. But there's a lot of murder in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's My Favorite Murder. One of their sayings is fuck politeness. And that's so true. Like,
yeah,
I was raised to be so polite to the point where I see now there are like certain, I don't know. I sometimes think people have called me too nice, and I don't take that as a compliment because I don't want to be, seen as a pushover and things like that.
Exactly.
But I say sorry too much. And like, when there's really no need for it, like, I don't have $20, period.
Exactly.
I don't have $20. Sorry. Like,
right.
It's, so just things like that. Those are opportunities to practice and kind of like train that muscle.
Yeah. And it seems like the world these days, like right after COVID, it's just things that people have changed. And, it's like, the world we live in, it's okay. I mean, you're probably never going to see that person again and hope that, they manage to get a job where, they could get gas. But that's something that, you can't think about, because you have your life and your family, and your loved ones that you need to get home to. So.
Yes. And then you live to be an example for them as well.
Exactly.
Yes. I love that. What a strong message, like already off the bat in this conversation. And to kind of like carry on with this concealed carry talk, I know we've actually, for people listening, okay, so that's anyone literally right now, because why else would, okay, I don't know why I said that, but we've actually recorded once before. This is our second take.
Yes.
So I just, because we had a lot of technical difficulties, that's the side of podcasting that you guys don't have to hear about. But, but I know we talked a little bit about yes. And last time we talked about kind of how your stature has led you to be able to kind of speak for women of the same stature. Would you kind of describe, I don't want to describe your stature. I feel like it'd be more appropriate for you to do that. And then kind of talk about like what concealed carry is like for you and how it's different for you than maybe people of different stature, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So when I first started carrying, many years ago, you only had an option of, when I worked at the gun store, it was a police supply store too. And the only option that you had was like what the police officers carry, Uncle Mike's, and there was Galco, but it was just really no option. And that's why I carried in my purse for 5 years, because it was just so uncomfortable. And, the fit of your clothing at the time was just not ideal for concealment. So my passion and my mission is to find holsters and just unconventional. So for the last 8 years of me, being an instructor, well, actually 10 years, but actively teaching 8 years, just I felt the need that, we're all different sizes. And I know that a lot of times our boyfriends and husbands, fathers try to help. And, they have their favorite holster, but it's just like they don't really consider, like with me, I used to carry in the small of my back because that was my only option, and so I love that all the different companies are, coming out with unconventional ways to carry. And so when I first started, I want to be true to my sponsors or my, me being an ambassador. So I was kind of stuck with the same, company. But I got to a point where, I had no answers when some of the, especially I did a blog last summer on pregnancy. I've never been pregnant before, but I'm like, this is a topic that I need to, check out. So I started working with so many different companies, and, I tried to show I only have 4 inches by 5 inches to work with here. But I know there are holsters out there that, that will work. It might not work for you, but so this year I'm not shooting that many competition because I found out that I had torn rotator cuff and separated AC from too much three gunning over the years. So I'm kind of going back to my roots where I'm passionate about teaching and finding gear and equipment that works for us, not just for me being petite. I'm 5'1". I weigh 112 pounds, but it could work for men too. So this year I decided I'm going to carry on me every single day. And it's been really hard, because of our attire. And I work at so I own a medical spa. So we decided to wear scrubs, and I posted a couple of posts and they're like, yeah, but I have to carry patients from, the chair to the wheelchair. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't have to do that. So, I've looked into that and tried to find more gear and things like that. But there are several that I, keep going back to. But I try to contact, and I've never really contacted any company. They've always, messaged me and said, hey, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should try our gear. This year, because of my shoulder injury, I am kind of focusing back into concealed carry for ladies and trying to help them find the right holster, unconventional or, conventional holster. So, and I had a lady that messaged me and she said, what about, I see all these, appendix carry and, the belly band and things like that. But she's like, what if you're pregnant? And I'm like, I wanted to respond to her and I'm like, I don't know, lady. I've never been pregnant before. So I don't know, ask somebody that's pregnant. But then, later on, Tatiana, and she did a piece on it. I'm like, yeah. So anyway, so I messaged her and I said, Tatiana has, a blog and, she talked to you on here. And so, but I thought, I'm like, I need to find out what it's like to be pregnant and carry. Of course, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just use a pillow, because my mission is to not only find holsters that fit me and other women in different sizes. I'm like, okay, I said, let me get back to you, but I will get back to you on that. So I reached out to Anna Taylor that owns Dean Adams, and I own several of her holster, and they're very unconventional. And I did several posts before, and of course, everybody is like, that is not a Kydex holster, and, I got a lot of slack for it. And I thought, you're drawing too fast. And so I've been carrying on my body for, I think, 18 years. No, 13 years. I don't know. It's a long time. So I feel I'm always, before I step out in whatever holster that I'm wearing that day, I always practice dry fire. So I feel that I'm pretty safe with, where my trigger finger goes. So I know that it's not for everybody, but I thought for me, it works, and it's just all depends on how you carry and how much you practice. So I decided, okay, I'll get back to you. Let me do some research and find some belly bands that will work. And so the first person I reached out to is, of course, Anna Taylor. And I said, okay, I'm doing a blog on pregnancy carry. And I think I need your modular band. I own the bra and the corset and the bike shorts. But I said, I think that belly band's going to work. So she sent it to me and she said, I also have a pregnant belly. And I thought, what? Why do you have that? So she was testing out her modular band with a pregnant belly. So it worked out, and I reached out to a couple of other companies because I didn't own a belly band at the time. So that was last summer, and I reached out to them. I usually don't reach out to any companies, but I thought, this year it's going to be my mission to find every holster that's available out there for men and women and just test it out, So it worked out pretty good. Hers came in first, and then Crossbreed, their Liberty band. I really like that. So I carry that a lot too. So yeah. So my mission today and every day for this year is to carry on my body. So it's been hard.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Earlier I was like, I think I said I can't imagine, but I too have been experiencing some challenges. And I think ever since you and I did the first take of this recording,
mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned it then. And I remember thinking like, damn, I need to do that too.
Yeah.
Truly and honestly, because one, like if we're thinking, from a business perspective, obviously it's good for content, but that's the thing. Like, I remember thinking that, and then I was like, I need to get back to my roots. Like, why did I even start this in the first place?
Why did you even start this? Right.
Yes. And I remember my first time putting a holster on, and I felt like I had a bomb in my, in my pants. I was like, what's going on?
And then you're like, oh my God. I mean, the whole time, the first time I, carried one, I was like, oh my gosh. And then you start sweating, it's like, is it hot in here? Because like everybody's going to look at my crotch,
Yes, so, exactly.
Yeah,
like
when I first started, I did it, I carried it like 4:00 because everybody's like, you're going to shoot. And I get so many comments when I post appendix, especially on Facebook, like, you're going to shoot your hoo-ha. I'm like, what? So,
heard that so many times.
So I started carrying back there, but then it was like, now that I have shoulder problems, like I can't reach back there. So just like, a pregnant lady, she's going to have big belly, and how are you going to, reach down there? So, and sometimes, and I know that there was a couple of ladies that I reach out and they're confined to a wheelchair, and they're like, we can't carry down there, So sometimes you have to carry off body, but, find a pack or a sling or, a fanny pack, I mean,
yes,
that's practicing. Of course, it all, a lot of people are like, well, it takes, forever to get to that gun. I'm like, not necessarily, if you're practicing all the time, and that's what you should do with a regular, Kydex holster that, appendix carry anyway. So, I mean, it's better to have that and not have one at all. Yeah, it might be a little slow getting to that gun, but, I mean, we just sometimes have to do what we got to do with our, disabilities. So, and I feel like being so small, I only have a little bit of space to work with. So I'm a little disabled too, so. So that's my mission this year, is to try to showcase every holster and belly band or whatever that's out there. So
I love that. Yes. I love that you brought this up, because sometimes I try to be careful with my wording here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a little bit of a holster whore. That was the wording I chose, because I do talk about so many different holsters, and I get the same damn comments every time. And it's like, the Filster Enigma is better than anything.
Yeah.
I got this one the other day. I was showcasing the Crossbreed Liberty holster, and they paid me nothing. I just asked them if they would send me a holster, because I have a decent following, and I knew it's okay to ask brands that sometimes.
Exactly.
Like it's mutualistic. It works out. And saves a little money for me. I'm a student still, so it works out. And I got so many comments that were the same thing over and over.
I know.
Which was like, all of that work and still not as good as the Filster Enigma. And I made a little story about it, that wasn't my point. My point was to give more options to people, that the Filster Enigma is not accessible to everyone. It's quite expensive. Two, it's not comfortable for everyone. I have a friend who just doesn't like it. Like he talks about how he
I really have a love and hate relationship. It's a great, but the leg strap thing,
it's a whole thing.
Yeah. And it's
I'm
like,
with you. It's not for every outfit.
A different body type. And I think it's great
Yes.
if you're wearing like a skirt, with the bike shorts underneath. But with jeans, especially like skinny jeans and things like that. So it's like you said, I'm a holster. My closet is all holsters because, I keep telling my ladies when I teach concealed class, I always bring a holster. Now we might not shoot and use the holster, but I just give them options because that's the next step. Once you take your class and you get your concealed carry class, and then what, So I always kind of like bring my huge container of all the holsters, and I'm like, just, so after the class, I'll say, you know what, here are the holsters. Here's your options. Here's all the different companies. And I do that with a pistol too. I do have, other company pistol in my toolbox. So, and Walther is really awesome about that. They're like, you don't have to like not shoot other guns. Shoot other guns. Yes. Let the ladies decide. And so I'm not really by it. I know I am on the shooting team, but I never tell anybody, all my students, I never tell them, unless they're following me on Instagram or Facebook, but I never tell them I'm a shooter for, Walther Arms until afterwards, they're like, oh, really? Hey. So it's like that with the holster, and all the companies that I have been working with, they are so great. Every single one of them. It's like, and I keep telling them, if it doesn't work, they do have a return policy, just find out the return policy. Like I know 30 days or 15 days. I know Dina Adams has 15 days. So it's like, you're not married to that, and you just have to try it out because you see so many influencers or, whatever that's promoting that, but do they really carry that? Because I'm not going to mention names, of course, but it's like, they do all this on Instagram and then I'm like, are they really carrying that in, day-to-day lives, So just try it out. Call the company or look at the return policy. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So I always try to lately, like, this works for me, but it might not work for you. And the companies don't have any issues when you point out their flaws because, they're like, it's fine. It's not going to work for everybody. So I love that about all the companies that I've reached out to. So I hope it's like that for you too, right? Yeah.
It absolutely is. Even Crossbreed, when they sent me the Liberty Band and the mini tuck, I got that straight from your page, by the way. And I even wrote them and was like, looked at Michelle's page. I want that. Like, send it to me, please. Oh my God, I want it.
and I saw you like using the hair dryer because I didn't have any issues with that. But different gun, different models, and
Yes, it was actually when it came in, what she's referring to is a video where I showed how I had to size the holster to my gun a little bit just because it came with so much retention. I emailed the company. They emailed me right back. They were like, hey, this is like a very understandable issue. Just heat it up and expand it a little bit. And I was honest, it took me like 5-10 minutes on the day I made that video. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little frustrated at first because I was like, shit. I don't know what to say to them. Like, and I'm going to be honest with my followers. I'm going to say like, this is maybe not the best holster. So I was emailing them like, please give me a solution. And they did. And it was awesome. And it works out for me now. And I love it.
And your video too, because you're like, and that was like not fake.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. It was exciting. And actually that day that I made that, I did a little concealed carry outfit. I was heading out to go for a little mini hike anyway. Yeah. I ran into, I didn't know, she didn't say anything to me, but this girl who follows me, and she said she looked for the gun on my outfit and she couldn't see it. And she DM'd me later and was like, I saw you at the park and I wasn't sure if it was you, but then I like got closer and I saw it was you and I panicked and I didn't say hi. And, you know, there's a few sides to that. At first I was like, shit, like that's where, that's like my worst nightmare in a way. Cause I'm like, I ran into someone who knows I have a gun. That's not super great, but it couldn't have worked out better. She made my day. And I even posted her little DM with that reel. So that meant a lot to me. And what's weird is, just side note, I felt like she was looking at my outfit. You know, you can just feel like someone's staring at you. Like, so checking you out. So validating. Yes. And I just happened to check my DMs. It was really fun. But anyway, all of that to say, yes, I've had really good experiences with my holster brands. No one's ever been negative towards me. And I've been lucky enough to establish a little bit of a relationship with John and Sarah myself. They're lovely people, and I've had so many questions for them over the years. I've DM'd them so much. I feel bad a lot, but they are so helpful. And
I think that's why the companies are doing what they're doing, because they want their holsters to work, you know, and if it doesn't work, then they're like, that's fine. It's not for everybody. And that's why I love that, because, you know, I've been in this industry, working for gun store and doing gun shows for like last 22 years. And they have changed so much. And I love that, you know, and it's like, if I look back when I first started carrying and then to now, it's like, oh my gosh. And it's kind of mind boggling. And it's a little frustrating too, because we have so many options now. Back then they didn't even have tactical pants for us, you know, and so that's kind of how I'm going back to how I got into Walther shooting team, because, you know, I did the training, and then in 2014, there wasn't really that many Asian shooters, you know, and shooting competition. Anita, that's where I met her. Our first, I think, I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, we are the OGs, like in 3-gun, because the first major match for ladies, it was all ladies, you know, it was 2014. And I shot one local match, and then I decided I'm going to watch and I'm going to learn. So the 3-gun nation was here at USSA in Tulsa, and that's where I met Taryn, Lana Mitchell, and all the OG 3-gunners, you know, and I always watched them and looked at the gear and is it going to work for me? And like all the companies and all those shooters, they're like, try my guns, you know, and that's why I got into it. Not because I want to be a grandmaster or, you know, like, you know, I want that plaque, which, I mean, I guess if I dry fired and practice, maybe I could get up, you know. I'm like,
the same boat.
I shoot one USPSA match a year, and I'm like, you know, so I'm like, I'm still in D class. I'm like, a lot of people are like, okay, you're sandbagging.
D as in boy?
D as in dog.
D as in dog. Okay.
Yeah.
No, hey,
like,
still.
Michelle. I'm like, you're like at least a C. I'm like, whatever. I'm just having fun. And, you know, they shake their head.
They're back a little bit. Hey, it's all about your reason for being there.
And that's what, you know, Walther, when I first joined, they're like, you've never shot a USPSA match? I'm like, no, I better go shoot one, because what? I'm shooting a world USPSA match when? And they're like, next month. I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
okay.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just have fun. And then, you know, 2 months later, this was 2015, they're like, okay, so you want to go shoot IDPA too? Because there's a match coming up. And like, IDPA, what is this IDPA? You know, and they're like, okay, you need to go and get, you know, like classified. And I'm like, classified. And they're just great people.
This is so relatable. I'm cracking up.
I know.
I'm like flashing back. When I started, I text like, Lisa like every day.
They're like, you're on the shooting team? Like, there's great shooters on the shooting team. I'm over here like, hey, I'm having such a great time. I'm like, I'm almost last, but that's okay. I'm having fun, you know? And that's why
what it should be for.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, a lot of women approach me. They're like, I think I'm ready for a competition, but I'm scared. I don't want people staring at me. And I'm like, don't get me wrong. When I first started, a lot of my friends were like, this is Walther Arms. What are you doing? You need to go take a class. So, I'm like, took a class, 2 classes, and, and they're like, don't worry about it. And so it was 2 ladies that they have retired and they don't work there anymore, but they were so lovely. We, Becky, and so we got in trouble at the World Steel Challenge because we were a little loud. We were laughing so hard. So they're like, it's fine. And I'm like, shh, you need to be quiet because this is the World Steel Challenge.
Yeah.
People from all around the country come here, but they're great people. So I love them.
I love that you just said that. So Lisa and I have so much fun when we shoot together that we have to remind each other to go paste. And and it was only a problem one time because we were so happy to see each other that we stayed back and didn't pace for 2 people's stages. And we got legit yelled at, which I'm a little disappointed in that, just because I thought that was unnecessary. We were all adults there, and someone could have pulled us aside and talked to us, but they yelled at us instead. And
and you guys are still new, so yeah.
It was, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, and so I can't imagine going to a world match and having so much fun and not knowing. I probably would have giggled a lot too.
Yeah. So when I first started, I was like, this is fun, and the 3-gun people were so welcoming. And then, I go to different platforms and it's like these people are serious, and they're still fun, of course. But, if you're spending that much money on a major match, of course, you want to do good and you want them to focus, kind of like golf. But, so, it was a huge learning curve for me. And then it took a long time when I first started, and we kind of talked, behind the scenes, and it's kind of stressful. And it's like, I told Walter every year, I was like, the 3rd year, I'm like, I need to quit. And they're like, why? Why do you need to quit? I'm like, because I'm not getting any better. Well, I mean, I guess if I dry fired, I would get better. If I shoot more matches, I would get better. But I'm like, I don't want to let you guys down. And they're like, no, the shooting community, it has nothing to do with how great you're shooting. You're having fun. You're being safe. And I got heat stroke, my 2nd major match, because
oh my goodness,
I'm like, you know what? This is serious. I'm going to I pasted and I reset the whole match, and we shot straight there. It was area 4 in Texas. And I'm like, by golly, I'm a team player. And so, I got a heat stroke. So it kind of set me back a little bit. So I can't shoot in extreme weather. But, a lot of seasoned shooters have helped me through, and they're like, no, don't quit. Please don't quit. I mean, you're having fun. So quit stressing out. You're having fun. You're being safe, and you're being proficient, and you're learning every time you go out to that match. There's going to be, of course, haters, I think, because you're an influencer or whatever, and they expect you to be a certain way. But there are so many people that, encourage you, and, they wish that they're in your shoes. And I'm like, well, why can't you shoot? As long as you're safe and you know how to, the 180, and I did DQ last September. It was like 181, but, COVID,
right on the line.
When I got the COVID, I should have stopped shooting. So your limits,
right.
But I mean, as long as you're being safe and you're learning each time, you have to look back when you first started. And I look back when I first started, I'm like, I was there. Now, I'm helping, like you were saying, that, girl that recognized you. You're helping somebody, one person at a time. And that's why you do it. And that's why I do it, so I haven't quit, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's super encouraging to me to hear as well. I've had a very crazy month between like planning a wedding, moving, my dad ended up in the hospital. I've been sick. So many things can happen. And this whole time I've been kicking myself like, oh, my dry fire is going down the drain. Like I'm going to have to start from square one.
I'm the same way.
And then right. Yeah. And it's easy to beat yourself up. And
it is. It really is.
I remembered why I did it in the first place. And then I thought, well, there's no rush. Like I'm not going for a grandmaster. And I'm not just saying that because I don't even know where I sit right now. I honestly don't even know my classification. I've shot 6. I just don't know how to like get my classification.
Yeah.
So if you want to like let me know how to do that at some point.
12 USPSA match and well, let me see, like 8 years. So, I don't look at it. I don't look at it. And the people and the shooters that I shoot with, they don't look at me down here. We're like even. We're here to have fun. And, we learn each time we go out there, and it's the camaraderie. And that's why I started. I'm like, what am I doing shooting competition? But it all goes back to, protecting yourself. I know, you put a little stress factor into that. And I encourage everybody that, is concealing and carrying for protection, that they should, once, they are safe, they should try competition, put a little stress in it, So
absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't understand these people. Yeah. I don't understand these people that, like say they're training and, protecting, but they don't go shoot competition. I'm like, why not? Right. Like all platforms, they should at least go try it, So
I agree. I think it'd be really cool. And that way they can speak to it a little bit too. It gives you some versatility.
And I think there's some that are like USPSA group and 3 gun group. And I'm like, I'm just all over the place, I'm like, I'll shoot all of it, So
yes. Absolutely. I'm actually really wanting to get into 3 gun. So we'll have to chat about that a little bit. Yeah. I've been playing around with my rifle and I've been looking at a particular shotgun. I don't want to say it on here yet because I haven't decided, but we should definitely chat about that on my way to that.
Now that you're moving, we should meet up and do 3 gun.
Yes. We will be, I think, 2 hours from each other.
Yeah. That's not bad at all. I think so. I need a shooting buddy. I don't have anybody here. I always keep going to Texas.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. And then Fort Smith is probably 3 hours from you, I guess, in that case. So we could go to that match and something like that.
Yeah, I used to shoot there all the time when they had 3 gun. I don't know if they have 3 gun there, but
I know about 3 gun. That's a good question. I've shot a USPSA match there and I had a really good time.
Yeah, they put on a good USPSA match. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. We'll coordinate. That would be awesome. Yes. And I'll come back and do edit with this part of the podcast. So yes, I would love to do that. So, for people who work in the medical field, do you have any advice on like scrub carry, anything like that?
I think the best bet is combination of like a Kydex holster and belly band probably is the best bet. And I know that, different size guns matter. I know there's a lot of arguments or, topics on, compact and full size gun. And so for me being so small, it's hard to conceal. Still, the F series, they have sized it down. I have the 3.5 inch, but I usually carry that in the winter months. So I'm always like going back to my PPSM2. So the belly band has been working really great. And I've been wearing the, Enigma too, but I'm still like struggling. So I'm going to do a little bit of my own modification on it and see where it goes. But I think that is probably the option, the belly band. So Liberty belly band is really great. Yeah. The combo that you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And anytime I tell anyone anything about a belly band, I always talk about Kydex for the purpose of the trigger guard. So if you're like super new to this, right? There's a trigger guard on a gun that like prevents your finger from going straight to the trigger. That's what that like little loop is. And then an additional, when I say trigger guard in this sense, I mean the Kydex will cover the actual trigger guard itself. So a trigger guard on a trigger guard, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I remember when I first heard that, I was like, what the fuck is a trigger guard? I was super confused.
Right? Yeah,
like,
and then I try to explain,
sense,
and I'm like, the little doohickey, that's on the doohickey. Yeah.
Half circle.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why,
yes.
I always feel, when I'm teaching ladies class, and I don't have a lot of people are like, you only teach ladies? I'm like, no, I love teaching ladies, and I wouldn't mind,
Right.
and I've taught male, students before too, but I think we could relate because we're females. And I feel like, and a lot of male instructors have reached out to me. They're like, so how do I can't fill my, ladies class because they feel intimidated. Like, what can I do? And so I always sound like, well, your girlfriend or your wife can they come to the class? If there's like, I think another female there, they don't feel intimidated. I mean, when I first started, there was no female, maybe a little handful of, female instructors. And I just got to a point, I'm like, you know what? I don't care if they watch me. I'm just going to have to do this. It's for my protection. I'm not there to, I started way before smartphones. So I'm like, no one's going to record me anyway. So, yeah.
Right.
But now it's like, I always tell them, like, you might not be able to fill that class because, they still feel intimidated by men, and you might just have to, like, point them in the right direction for a, female instructor, or have somebody there that was a student, prior to, and just have them be present, so.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And if people want to train with you, can they find you somewhere? Is that something you want to share on the pod, or?
Yeah, they could DM me. I go to DFW area, Dallas, Fort Worth area. During the shooting season, I try to go down there once a month, but with my new business, it's kind of hard, but I'm going to try to go down there. So, Tulsa or, Dallas area. I do a lot of one-on-one, and I don't have a website or anything like that. I did before, but it just hit and miss kind of a thing. And I think doing 2 or 3 just personal one-on-one has been working out for me. So they could DM me or find me on Facebook, which is TacGirlMichelle. So
perfect. Absolutely. Well, as far as topics go today, I feel like we covered so much good material. Is there anything you feel like we left out, or anything you want to say to the listeners before we end the podcast?
Well, I'm, like I said, kind of working with different companies, and I'm working with Women's Outdoor News. Nancy always checks on me, and we do a little bit of blog and different topics I've done with her. So I'm working with her, and then Klinger Holster. Also, we're trying to get maybe a podcast. You've inspired me to, because I'm serious. I'm like, how many hours do we have to talk about all this? So,
Right.
Yeah, Sherry had approached me and
Wonderful.
said, hey, do you want to talk about just all things guns, and maybe not even guns, just hair or whatever, just to,
sure.
Yeah. So we're working on something together, Klinger Holster, and then Exis Sites. I do a little bit of blog every once in a while. And so I'm working with the 3 companies that, they'll check on me and like, hey, is there a topic that you want to talk about? So there's the 3 companies that you can kind of keep up with what I'm doing. So
that's wonderful. Yes. And I can tag them in the show notes, which are the notes below the title, so that people can go and check those companies out. But yes, I love podcasts. It's kind of how I pass time. And I feel like
you learn so much,
yes, you learn while relaxing. It's best of both worlds.
And that's the thing. It's like, I've been in this industry forever, but it's like you learn from, like, you just started. So I'm learning so much from you and vice versa. So I love that, truly we could just share what's on our mind and just talk freely,
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yes. I thank you so much for saying that. I'm so inspired by you. I know I said that before we started the episode, but definitely want to say it again on here. And this is probably, I wasn't going to say this originally because I didn't want to make this like all about, me, but I wanted to say this is probably the first podcast where I've just like flowed and like sat and chatted with you with someone.
Right.
I usually like panicking and taking notes on the side and trying to be strategic about what to say next, but
Right.
it's been a really good experience. I think it helps that we had a kind of first take and first try,
Yes.
but it's been really nice to just be authentic and also talk
and
a little bit more.
and I
Yeah.
feel that especially women that are first trying to get into start, they have nowhere to start, and there's so many YouTube information that is out there, but it's more catered to women. It's just so intimidating, and I feel like when I first started teaching, I always had like a question, and a question and Q&A, like, did I do okay? Should I have been more professional? And they're like, my students like, what do you mean professional? What are you talking about professional? You're a professional. I'm like, I know, but I feel like I need to use big words. And they're like, no, you need to talk to me like I'm your sister, your mother. And I think that's why, you doing this podcast and just, you're like, let's just talk, So I love that.
Yes. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's the whole point of this originated to be that resource that I didn't feel like I had when I started. And I was lucky enough to have good friends and people to guide me almost every step of the way. But I remember
by the
thinking,
way, I've been asked so many times, and like all the different podcasts, it has nothing to do with you guys. It was all me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. No, I can't talk on camera. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So I've turned down so many. So you're the first podcast I've ever done.
I feel so honored. Yes, I totally understand that feeling.
But when you approached me and then you messaged me, and then I see your content, and I know I could just sense that you're so passionate, and that was me. And I'm still here because I'm passionate about, like sharing everything that I know. It's like, it might not be right. I might not have the right answer, but I'm going to dig, and I'm going to search, and I'm going to ask. So, and I feel that about you too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. That's very encouraging. Yes, I appreciate you. I'm really trying to get into this full time, and this podcast keeps me centered, and I'm glad you could see kind of my mission, and I'm glad our missions align. There's like nothing cooler than that. And then we'll get to shoot together soon. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
We'll figure that out. That's going to be my priority when I get back to Northwest Arkansas, besides like, getting my home security system set up. So well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you. Yes. I'll be closer to everyone, Walther and everyone. I don't really know if I'm officially sponsored. I'm trying to figure that out with Chris right now. He was like, I mean, like, we support you, so we technically sponsor you.
I know, that's right. I called him a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I don't know. I think I just need to retire. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, you need to just get Sophia on there, and then I just need to quit. And he's like, no.
Not at all. Break his heart, will you? I know he loves having you on the team. And yes.
I think we all three should practice. I need practice bad.
Absolutely. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, Chris, Walther just dropped a podcast, Walther Radio.
Yes.
Yeah. It sounds great so far. I think I'm sure it'll pick up a lot of momentum quickly, but for anyone interested in that is available now. So I think I might just go ahead and link that too. And Chris is the host. He's a great guy, and
very genuine.
And very genuine. And he always has great questions, just like ready to go.
Know, right?
So I know he's
we need to take notes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a really great, a great deal, a good addition to the Walther kind of like name. So Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for coming on. I will have
Thank
an
you so
off radio
much.
talk, but yes, to kind of end the episode as we normally do, if you're interested in exclusive content, you could become a Patreon. You will receive a thank you note and podcast stickers along with more exclusive content. You can visit She Shield on Instagram and TikTok at She Shield Pod for show updates, pictures of our guest speakers, and podcast highlights. A special thank you to Sagetta Gear, the official sponsor of She Shield. For concealed carry gear and duty gear, you can use code SheShield10 for 10% off your Sagetta Gear order and to support the pod. All resources mentioned will be linked in the show notes. If you like the pod, you can like by liking, subscribing, and leaving a review. And if you or anyone you know is in a crisis and is an owner of a firearm, you can send them to Hold My Guns. They are an organization that partners with licensed locations for firearms, and they can actually hold the firearm for someone going through a crisis, or it can just be a vital part of the firearm so that they are not able to use it for any negative means. So if that is something that interests you or you think you can share with someone in need, see the show note links. In the meantime, thank you for listening and stay safe and stay vigilant. Bye.